Welcome back to Everyday Economics, the podcast that helps you learn about the economic world happening around you every day. I'm your host, Chris Krug, CEO of the 501c3 nonprofit, nonpartisan Franklin News Foundation. Everyday Economics, a production of America's Talking Network. You can subscribe to all of our podcasts at americastalking.com. To support Everyday Economics, please make your tax-deductible charitable contribution by clicking the link in the show description. Joining me as always, Dr. Orphe Divounguy, PhD economist. Dr. O, we've been talking about the current considerations around college. We talked about the economics of a college choice as it pertains to return on investment and the likelihood of employment. Let's now turn to the jobs of today and the jobs of tomorrow. And so, we're recording this, within a month of most college graduations. We're going to have an influx of people who are out there joining the workforce for the first time. Who are the graduates, or which graduates are going to be able to most likely find employment? What degrees? And we've spent a considerable amount of time dissuading people from going into art history. Again, I'd like to apologize to all art historians. We're not picking on you, but the numbers don't lie. So what are the jobs of the moment? And what are the degrees that you think are leading to the jobs of the moment?
Yeah, look, the jobs of the moment are in healthcare, right? So we got these massive labor shortages in the healthcare space. That means that if you're in healthcare, you're going to do well, and you're going to continue to do well for a while. And on top of that, since we're talking about the future, we have an aging population. More and more money will have to be spent on healthcare and insurance. And so I would suggest that those are the spaces where you're going to continue to see graduates being rewarded handsomely in the labor market. You also have construction, right? Construction productivity continues to lag. Labor shortages in construction means that wage growth in the construction sector is high, much higher than relative to the rest of to the average. And so jobs in the construction space, if you're in North America, if you're in US or Canada, where basically we had Canada, huge population growth with immigration. We got surprising population growth in the US. People are going to need housing. And so, again, unless we see a big shift to like 3D printing, we're still going to need people in the construction trade. And at least at the moment, that's going to continue to be a strong industry to be in. Social assistance also probably going to continue to be an industry. That's, again, as the population ages and people need more and more help, more support, I think those are jobs that are going to continue to do well. You got education. Remember, we lost a lot of teachers. And so, we're probably going to continue to need teachers. Although I would say, maybe a headwind is the fact that a lot of people are starting to learn online, and you got a lot of skills acquisition taking place on YouTube and other types of platforms, some of them paid platforms, which I won't mention necessarily, but we know what they are, which ones they are. And they're doing a tremendous job of educating tomorrow's workforce on the internet. Right. Mm-hmm. And so those are kind of the things that I see for now. Now, of course, in terms of the future, you got the prevalence of AI. Right. And AI will likely, distort a lot of things. Well, change a lot of things. I shouldn't say distort. There's going to be a lot of positive and negative coming from AI. Some industries are going to be transformed completely. And the jobs, in those sectors are going to be, affected. Some of them in a positive way, and others maybe not so. And people will have to shift their skill sets, so like change the skill sets that they choose to acquire in order to keep up with the growth of AI.
So, to wind the clock back to when I graduated from college in 1990, and a good number of the people that I went to school with, were in the computer sciences program and got degrees in computer science. And, I think to set context, we didn't have phones in our room. We didn't have mobile phones. I would guesstimate that in my freshman year dormitory, 3 students of the 100 or so that lived there had computers of their own, huge desktop computers, of course. Mm-hmm. And the people that, that were getting these computer science degrees at the time were largely still learning basics programming basics, and working in programs that had been around for a very long time, like COBOL and Fortran. Mm-hmm. And then they joined the workforce in 1990. And by the time, we get to the year 2000, the internet is, picked up a significant amount of stream, still dial up. But then 10 years later, virtually everybody in the country is on broadband, and, we're all walking around with computers in our pockets and phones. How do you forecast, or how would you best recommend someone from a college investment standpoint to think about the future of the degree that they have as it pertains to the future of the work that will be coming their way in terms of opportunities? Because we're not living in a static world.
Yeah, and things are changing really rapidly. I mentioned AI earlier. First, we're still trying to figure out. I think the IMF has a great report out there on kind of the exposure to AI. Still really trying to figure out how it's going to affect a lot of people. I can tell you, for example, that it's good to be a software engineer, but perhaps the computer's doing such a great job of coding now and building tools and products that, perhaps we'll have fewer software engineers, right? So I am not sure really what the implications are going to be as of yet. I know from my own experience as an economist, I do a lot of coding and gathering data and analyzing data. My productivity has increased tremendously because I can get AI to collect data for me,
right,
and to write pieces of code. And, and my job is kind of just come and check whether the computer has done a good job for me or not. I use it as an assistant. And so huge productivity gains come from that. And I think a lot of people are going to see that. If your job can be done, can be automated, it's probably not a good idea to go into that space.
So what are the opportunities, do you think, where college leads to the future career, where automation perhaps doesn't pose as much of a threat?
That's a good question. Your guess is as good as mine. I don't really have the answer to this. I think that the spaces where people care about other people, and I think we mentioned this earlier with healthcare, places where you actually have to physically help people move about, get out of bed in the morning and monitor them, are places where you're going to probably get less disruption going forward. And AI might even provide some assistance in terms of like maybe, keeping track of, vitals and maybe helping with predictions about the health of individuals, et cetera, et cetera. So we're probably going to get some big gains there. But I think ultimately the healthcare sector is probably going to remain, at least in the near future, the space to be in, especially if you can combine that with some technology.
Well, I appreciate your thoughts. As always, it's a good conversation. For Orphe Divounguy, this has been Chris Krug. Subscribe to Everyday Economics and dozens of other quality podcasts at americastalking.com.
He ran for state office and was beaten. Started a business and failed. Ran for Congress and lost. But thankfully, Abraham Lincoln didn't give up. Persistence. Pass it on. From the Foundation for a Better Life at values.com.